I want to call to order the March 11th, 2024 Harpers Ferry Town Council meeting to order. For the record, we have 5 council members present. We have Zach zooming and Storm. And Storm is online too. Okay. Okay, would you all please rise for the pledge? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor's announcements. I don't have any at this time. Recorder comments, updates.
There are currently some nominations that are not on today's agenda. They were pushed to a special meeting. At our last month's meeting, we were having some scheduling conflicts to get everyone in attendance, but we're aiming to have that meeting within the next 2 weeks. If there's anyone who has a pending nomination that will be held during that meeting, we'll make sure to let you know what that date is if you'd like to attend in person.
Okay. Anything else needed?
That's it.
Okay. I noticed, Patty, what's public comments. Is it on here?
Yeah. It's
where's that? Oh, up here. Okay, Nina, do you have public comments?
Yeah, we do. Starting with Guy Hammer.
Local governments have a duty to provide timely information about releases of hazardous chemicals in their communities and to provide protect groundwater and provide transparency about decisions to not take action. According to public records, on 29 September 2022, over 260 gallons of fuel oil was pumped into the ground ground floor of a short-term rental business on Camp Hill that is owned by a limited liability corporation. A young lady had to be rescued from her bed to escape the rising flood of oil and its combustible vapors. According to public records, court records, as many as 200 gallons of fuel entered the earth. It was the largest known toxic spill in town history. The property is largely unfenced, bordered on 2 sides by public green spaces, 50 yards above public roads and a drain to the Potomac, 67 yards above the home of a family with 3 young children, and fewer than 200 yards from bedrock walls bordering the town's busiest daycare playground. The local fire department claims they had trained personnel and spill containment tools on standby minutes away, but they were never notified, they claim. By the time a cleanup crew from the fuel company arrived hours later, the oil had likely already started penetrating fractured bedrock and groundwater. Town Hall was reportedly notified by the property owner the day after the spill. However, none of the parents with young children living closest to the spill were ever contacted, nor the daycare, nor the innkeeper. West Virginia DEP issued a notice of violation to the property owners, either for failing to disable the fill pipe or when they removed the internal fuel tank or preventing the fuel company employees from performing emergency remediation, or both. The site remains contaminated and hazardous to this day, according to court records. The cost to remediate this site now will likely exceed $1 million. All FOIA requests submitted by me for information related to this incident have yielded 0 results, including West Virginia DEP, County 911, Friendship Fire Department, and the Corporation of Harpers Ferry. I believe the people of Harpers Ferry deserve answers to 3 basic safety questions. Why didn't the town notify people living and working within 300 yards of the spill, especially parents with young children? 2, which direction is the groundwater oil plume flowing and how fast? Are there any other homes today vulnerable to the same type of spill right now? We asked the recorder to enter this statement and attach it to the record of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Karen Tbilisi.
Good evening. Tonight I'm representing Dark Sky Bottle for Harper's Ferry. Back in end of January, I put in a proclamation request for the state of West Virginia to declare April 2nd through the 8th International Dark Sky Week, and we received this proclamation approximately 2 weeks ago. I did revise it from the one that was done last year. It was submitted by a lady from Northern Virginia who is also a Dark Sky ambassador. And I, of course, put Harper's Ferry National Historical Park in there as well. So I highlighted a little bit more of the Eastern Panhandle and presented this proclamation to the town of Bolivar last week. And I also got a copy for the town of Harper's Ferry. So I'd like to present that to town council in the back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elaine Adele? It doesn't say which item you're speaking of.
It should be historic landmark.
Okay.
I am Elaine Dell, and I live at 597 East Ridge Street. And unfortunately, because my brother sadly has dementia, I missed the meeting on Thursday or whenever it was. And so I am going to let George tell the as he was there, so that he can explain what went down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Carrie Gautier? Oh, I'm safe. Five E.
I'm Carrie Gautier. My family, do I need a press anything? No. My family and I have been residents of Harper's Ferry for over 20 years. We lived at the Ledge House Bed and Breakfast, and on September 29, 2022, a driver of Roach Oil went to the wrong address. And even though he didn't hear the vent whistle, he pumped 260 to 270 gallons of fuel oil into our basement. Had he listened for the vent whistle and stopped pumping when he didn't hear it, we would not be here today. What has happened to the Ledge House is heartbreaking to us. We have always been forthright regarding the spill and have talked personally to many of you in the community about this because it has been devastating to us. It's a home we love. We have members of the community asserting that there was a cover-up. There are certain things that are not based in fact. We've had to have attorney write a cease and desist letter. We are being covered now by the media, Facebook. Our neighbors have had someone go door to door against us. The only group that has enforceable authority is the DEP. On the day that the spill happened, a delivery person contacted Roach Oil to report the fuel spill. And in response, Roach Oil employees and their hazmat team were there. We immediately contacted an attorney who advised us to contact the DEP. When the Roach employees arrived and did not wish to contact the DEP, we insisted that they do so. On September 23rd of 2023, the DEP entered orders finding the fault did not lay with us, but rather with Roach Oil for the spill. Roach Oil did not file an appeal on finding of fact in the required 30-day period. Despite the DEP's order directing Roach to provide a plan to correct action, Roach has not done so. Copies of the orders and following requests to provide the plan of correction have been provided to the Council of Harper's Ferry. We have worked with the DEP to make sure the property is properly cleaned up and in the process of suing Roach Oil. Initially, we relied on Roach's hazmat team for the proper response, but none has been forthcoming.
30 seconds.
Basically, I'd like to ask you guys tonight, for some support. This has been an awful experience. To go after blaming the town or us is the wrong way to handle this. You should be rallying around us, not piling on. And I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That's all public comment.
Okay, thank you, Nina. Now I'll get back to mayor's announcements, which I have none. And recorders,
Already gave
you've
it.
gone through yours. community announcements, Laura, do you have anything you want to say?
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry.
we have bypassed approval of the agenda.
Oh, my bad.
Thank you. It's in light print.
All right, let me spin around here for a minute. All right, let me start all over again. So everybody wipe off what I just said. We're gonna go to ground zero. We're going to approve the agenda. I'm going to move that approving the amendment. I'm going to move that we strike agenda item 9A. And if I get a second on the motion to strike 9A, I'll get into some rationale why I think it should be struck. Second. Oh, thank you. Open the discussion. My point is that the issue, I believe, of raising or lowering parking meter rates falls under the purview of the parking committee. And if the parking committee would deem that any such proposed action has any kind of merit, it would be the responsibility of the parking committee to bring it before this body. Now, granted, the parking committee currently does not have the numbers to constitute a quorum. However, that issue, as we all know, will be resolved probably next week. Therefore, I believe striking this agenda item and its future referral to a duly authorized parking committee is probably the best course of action for this body to take. And I believe that there's nothing that critical regarding parking meter rates that cannot wait for a parking committee. Any other discussion? Roberta first.
Yes, sir. And whose agenda item, was submitted on? Who submitted this agenda?
To your right.
George Owens.
Go ahead, George, you got the floor.
No, it was my agenda.
Thank
And thank you. With all due respect to I appreciate your rationales. Things can come from the parking committee as recommendations to us. Currently, we haven't had a functioning parking committee. The parking committee is a recommending body only. And I believe that in this case, the rationales for a parking rate increase transcend the issue of parking and therefore fall within the purview and interests of the general public, the residents of this town, and thereby its town council. So I'd like to urge a brief discussion this evening.
Good.
And with action.
Any other discussion? Who? Zach?
Hi, first of all, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Awesome. I think Roberta's mic might be a little low on battery, but I just wanted to say that if this item gets kept on the agenda, we could have a formal motion to direct the parking committee to look into it or to provide advice, which might be helpful for when they get back on their feet, but just throwing that out there.
Okay. Any other discussion, Nina?
I agree with Zach. I don't think it's a bad idea that maybe we recommend that the parking committee review our hourly parking meter rate and consider an increase. I do not think that we have enough information as town council to be able to make that decision, but that is something that the parking committee could look into once they are sort of reestablished.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Storm?
Storm, go ahead, Storm.
Yeah, I agree. It's likely premature to take any action. However, I don't see any harm in discussing it generally.
Okay. Roberta, you're being recognized for the second and last time.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree with Storm. I think it would be great if we could leave it as discussion, but could this town council make a recommendation to the parking committee to that effect? Like Nina said, make a recommendation back to the parking committee saying we suggest X, Y, and Z.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Storm, second and last discussion point.
Yeah, I believe we probably could make a recommendation to a subcommittee, but it would kind of defeat the point of having a subcommittee.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. Okay, the motion on the floor is to suspend, is actually to not deal with section number 9A. All those in favor of the motion to strike 9A, raise your hand. Oppose? Wait a minute. All right, we're going to do this again because I'm looking at hands going up and hands flying down here. I'm going to call for the approving the motion to strike 9A. I want hands up now. We got 1, 2, 3. Am I counting right? Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, motion failed. So we
make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Chris. Discussion on the motion to approve as is. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Sorry, one thing, well, item 5D is no longer relevant, so.
Yeah, we'll have our attorney address that. Where was I, George? I was on
We have,
discussion. All those in favor of approving the agenda, raise your hand. 7-0. Thank you. All right, now let me go to the Hilltop now. Sorry about that, Laura.
Debbie? Something's slowly calling.
The door's open here.
Okay.
I'm Laurel Zemansky, project manager for Hilltop House Hotel. And I'm just giving you my monthly update. All of our permitting processes are running smoothly. And we are waiting on a TIF vote that keeps being pushed out. It looks like that might not happen until the month of April. So as soon as we get our financial package secure, we'll be talking about a groundbreaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. National Park Service, the acting superintendent is not able to be with us this evening, but I'm pleased to announce that the Park Service has selected Tanya Gossett as the permanent superintendent. And Tanya will be on site on or about May 1st, but we all know how the United States government operates. It's like rigor mortis in motion. So it may be May 1st or 15th or whatever, but I'm very pleased that Tanya is the selectee. And what's really good about it is that after spending 9 or 10 months here, she will arrive ready to go to work. She knows the players, she knows the terrain, she's a quick study, and I'm looking forward to working great things with Tanya. So Tanya, if you're listening, congratulations. Approval of minutes. We have minutes before you, which is February 12. Any corrections, additions, deletions for the February 12 minutes? Chris?
I move to approve February 12th minutes as presented.
Second on the approval. Second from George. Any discussion on the motion to approve February 12 minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. Opposed? Let the record reflect 6-1. And then Nina, you said February 20 will be oncoming, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Now matters relating to legal guidance. Discussion action regarding the selection of lender for the WDA grant match loan. Who's handling that, Debbie? Storm?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I can speak to this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so Budget and Finance met on March 5th to review the proposals that have been submitted by lenders to issue the water bonds needed to secure the WDA grant. There were 3 lending institutions, and a ratings matrix was developed with the input and guidance from our financial and legal teams. And those teams were on hand at that meeting to answer questions during the review, and members of the Water Commission participated in all of the discussions as well. There are quite a few questions that were asked. That's basically what we did, and we did come to a determination about which lender had the best package for Harpers Ferry.
Okay,
So I'd
Storm,
like to,
I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
yeah, I was going to move to award the issuance of the Harpers Ferry Waterworks water revenue bonds to Citizens National Bank with a 4.89% rate for a total of 11 years, interest only in the first year and with principal drawn down as needed, and to assign to CNB the Waterworks Renew and Replace and SB 234 accounts with maximum principal of $700,000.
Second. Who second? Oh, George said, okay. And discussion on the motion, Roberta.
Yes, can I have Storm just repeat what I think I heard? So if he could repeat the interest rate and the terms, so, and we know what the final dollar amount that we're going to borrow.
Storm, go ahead and repeat.
Do you want the whole thing or just the basic facts, the terms?
The terms, please.
Yep. So the rate is 4.89%. The term is 11 years. It's interest only for the first year. And we can draw the principal down as needed, meaning we don't have to take all of the money as one lump sum, in which case we would be paying interest on it right out of the gate. We start paying interest once we draw it down. And if we don't draw down the whole thing, then we won't pay interest on the whole thing. And the other thing is that we agreed with them to get the lower rate, that we would assign some of our holding accounts to this bank. And the maximum principal that we would be able to draw down for these water-bound bonds would be $700,000.
Okay, and I'd like to congratulate you on getting the lower rate and those terms. I think that's much better than we expected, so congratulations on that.
Team
Any other
effort.
discussion? Go ahead, Storm. I keep cutting into you.
Well, I'm only sort of here. But yes, it was definitely a team effort of everybody involved, and especially our finance officer, Deb Kelly, who really has been working this phenomenally.
Any other discussion?
Yep, Debbie.
Tell Debbie.
We did also discuss with CNB the possibility of moving our water revenue account and escrow account over. There's some complications with that regarding daily deposits, and we have agreed to discuss the possibility of that. And I also just wanted to point out that Mr. Stoliver from CNB is here this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Looks like a 7-zip. Storm, if you would kindly email your motion to Nina. I don't know if it can transcend where you are located right now, but I know she would appreciate that. She was practicing shorthand a few minutes ago.
Through the magic and miracle of satellite technology, I can make that so.
Okay, thanks, Storm. All right, let's go to B, discussion and action regarding the approval of a rate increase for Harpers Ferry Waterworks. Who's got that, Debbie?
Storm.
Storm.
Sorry, you caught me right in the middle of satellite transmission. Yeah, so this was the other big product of that meeting. And I move to recommend that the current Harpers Ferry Waterworks water tariff be increased by 30% effective July 1, 2024 for the June 2024 billings.
Second.
We got a second on the motion. We have a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. George.
I would like to say that I'm entirely in favor of this, although it's a hard pill to swallow. I want to say to all the residents here and water users here that many people sat in this room and listened and asked questions about the hard facts. And we're going to be holding a public hearing in which I hope we can have the public, the water users, understand why this difficult step had to be taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said, George. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Quick 7 again. Item C, first reading of ordinance 2024-01, Article 905, an ordinance to increase water rates for the Harpers Ferry waterworks. Who has that?
I believe that's me, yes? Okay, all right. Good evening, Roberta Mead Curry, Ordinance Review Committee Chair. We have finalized, the ORC Committee as of this afternoon, finalized the draft for the, our ordinance 2024-01, which you have copies before you. And, basically it corrected or upgraded the water rates on schedule number 1 to the 30%, which you just approved, and also caught some typos and corrections that we thought we would just clean up the ordinance in Article 905 altogether. So with that, I'd like to present motion for the first reading to be approved. Is that how this typically operates, or how do you guys, what's the language on approving the ordinance for first reading?
Okay, read the title.
Okay, so, okay. An ordinance of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, amending the Code of Ordinances of Harpers Ferry, Part 9, Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code, Article 905, Water, amending and adopting revised Article 905, Water, for increases to the schedule of water rates, paren, rate schedule number 1, close paren, updates, corrected typographical errors, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing unaffected date.
Okay. We have a second on the motion. We have a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
Mayor Vaughn?
Yes.
I would like to thank Hoy Singleton for his expertise and help through this challenging project.
You all got a good council. This is not even, I know it's not, but you all get go through, you ask questions, talk what you democracy works.
That's right. And Hoy, you're very familiar with Harpers Ferry, and I've known you a long time dealing with this back in previous years. And I'm going to echo Chris's comments about what a pleasure it is working with you on these things. It's you're a phenomenal resource for this town, and the municipalities that retain you are very lucky municipalities. So I'll just leave it at that. You're a gentleman and a scholar. So, yes. Well, I'll leave the scholar part off then. Yes.
So also following up with this particular item, there are some public hearings that are going to be coming forward, and we need to get some consensus from council, as they will be town council meetings, as to when they will be held. The second reading needs to be on the 12th of April, which is not what we originally planned. That has to do with the schedule of the Spirit of Jefferson newspaper publication date being on a Wednesday. The second hearing has to be 5 days in advance of that hitting the street, so that lands on the 12th. And it will need to be sometime during the day, and that will be a public hearing as well as the second reading and adoption. So that allows us another opportunity for a public hearing in the evening on the 9th, 10th, or 11th of April. So we need to find out from you all what works best, rather than us trying to figure that out right now. I'll send an email in the morning. We'd like to get that settled by maybe 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, because the Water Commission is preparing for their presentation to the community about this rate increase and the WDA project, and trying to get final documents out to you and Councilor Bolivar for their meeting on Wednesday. If you could kindly tend to that as soon as possible tomorrow morning, and let us know your availability for those dates. We'll nail down those times. That allows a public hearing in the evening that week, and then the final public hearing and adoption on the second meeting on the 12th.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. And Roberta, I want to thank you and DORC for taking this challenge on. I know it was very difficult. I know it was new to 2 of you on there, but you did a masterful job, and I want to thank you. That was a tough thing. Thanks, Roberta.
Well appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Now let's move to the unfortunate Oil spill?
No,
Well, I think, Mr. Sayer, are you gonna? Yeah, let's go to House Bill, Mr. Sayer, 5548. Let's do that one first.
Okay, so the House bill, which was going to amend the Tourism Development District, died in the Senate on Saturday night. Therefore, that bill is no longer valid, or not valid, but viable. If there was a movement to try to redo that bill, which mainly changed the name of the organization that was overseeing it. There was an issue about the building code. It would have to start all over again at the next legislative session, which the next regular session will be scheduled in February of 2025.
Okay.
So there's really nothing further for us to be concerned about that bill.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sayer. Roberta, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, and I'd like to address my question to Ken Sayer and maybe this body. Should we be proactive when this bill comes forward? Because very concerned about them striking the state building code, and therefore can we ask questions on what building code, fire codes, and etc. are they going to be following for a commercial project in this and in our town?
I'll let our attorney answer that question.
Counselor, they did strike out the language dealing with the state building code, which was adopted by a corporation. And basically the state building code, what West Virginia code says is that municipalities can only adopt the state building code. It does have in there, so it strikes that language, but then it has language in there that says that the building requirements, as any other projects that the development office oversees. Well, the only building code that's been officially adopted by the state of West Virginia is adopted by the state fire marshal, which is in effect the state building code. I think that they're still under those requirements. If that statute had gone through, I think the development office still, when they are applying building codes, or applying those codes that were duly adopted by the state fire marshal. And therefore, I think that they're still subject to that. Though fortunately, that doesn't have to be concerned about because the bill has died. We may want to monitor the 25 session to see if there is any movement, and if there is movement, to review the bill to make sure that it does not adversely affect the town.
Thank you very much. That's what I needed to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Sayer. George has a question for you.
I don't have a question for him. Since this is on the agenda as discussion and action, I'd like to make a motion. And I have it typed out because we like that here. Everybody can read it. I'll send it down to the, I make a motion, and this is in light of what Mr. Sayer was saying, and in light of the concerns that everybody in town has concerning building standards to be applied to this, the largest building project in this town since 1890. I make a motion the town council reschedule a discussion with legal counsel on HB 5548 for a time when it is reintroduced in the legislature, and that this be placed on the agenda as a discussion action item.
Your Honor, if I might, I don't believe the agenda says that it's a discussion item and not an action item.
Oh, you're right, sir. You're quite right. I thought I submitted this as a discussion. In fact, I did submit this as a discussion action item.
Okay. Well,
I am out of order then.
yes, sir. All right, Chris. Thank you, George.
Just to add to Mr. Sayer's information, I had emailed Delegate Espinoza, who was one of the sponsors of the bill this weekend. I appreciate that he got right back to me. And his response was that the purpose of this legislation was to address uncertainty as to which building codes would be applicable in the TDD. The Senate apparently believes that the legislation is unnecessary and therefore does not plan to consider the bill further. Best regards.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, now let's move to item 5, E. Edward.
Yes, Your Honor. I guess the town has become aware of a spill, a discharge of heating fuel at a residence or building at Clay Street. Your Honor, I have spoken with Miss Santa Barbara, who is the attorney for the property owner, and have received quite a bit of information from her in reference to this, what has happened. As I'm sure everyone is aware, Roach Heating Oil went to the wrong location. They then went through the process of dispensing over 200 gallons of home heating oil into a basement where there was no tank. That took place. They then notified the DEP in reference to that spill. They did not apparently notify the Corporation of Harpers Ferry, either the police department or the fire department, or any official notification to the town. Since that took place, the Roach Energy apparently dispatched a cleanup crew. They did some cleanup, though the DEP, through orders, has found a notice of violation against the Roach Energy. They also are now subject to civil litigation from the property owner in reference to the cleanup or lack thereof. There is a second lawsuit that is from the Erie Insurance Company. It's a subrogation claim. What that is Erie has paid the homeowner damages and are now seeking to recover those. I think one of the issues, Mayor, that you brought up, and also the recorder, there was a concern that there was no notification made to the town promptly, and we were kind of left without this information. One of the things that we talked about was the emergency response plan, and it may be helpful if council were to review the emergency response plan to make sure that we are kept in the loop if there is another emergency incident like this, to have in the plan that has been adopted by Jefferson County that we're notified. To make sure that we are aware of the situation. I know that there was a question about actions that the town should take going forward at this point in time. And right now, the DEP is dealing with the spill, the cleanup, and also citations against the responsible party under their state codes. And that is probably the most efficient and the best way to handle this at this point in time, because they have the expertise in what needs to take place. But I do think that we want to review our emergency response plan to make sure that in that plan is a notification to the town, and also if the notification was made to the DEP for the spill or to Jefferson County, that those individuals will respond back to the town to let us know that this took place.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Sayer? Roberta?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This was my agenda item request, and I put this forward because I will disclose I have received several emails from various residents with this concern, and I did not know anything about it. So that's why I brought it forward, only to get it out in the open, because I personally was not aware of it. Looking at the date 2022, I was concerned that it was 2024 and there was nothing on the town council records that I could find. So we're bringing it out. We're wondering what the town's responsibility is under Article 533.05 and 1109. Do we need to do anything as a town? Because we are also responsible for the public safety and welfare of our town members and the people who live here and also our commercial establishments. So it was very concerning to me that I couldn't find any records that we took action. So I have also taken the time to sit down with the hazard mitigation plan, which we just received from the county. And there are some direction in there on what we need to do. However, the town of Harpers Ferry does not have a hazard mitigation plan in their comprehensive plan. And so there we are. We have codes under 533 and 1109, which says what we can do, and the OCO has the right versus however that needs to be done. Now, what the process is, what the administration needs to do for the policy to get this done. So we protect the corporation of Harpers Ferry, we protect the residents, and we protect our companies, we protect the people. So that's why I brought it forward. And I thank the residents who contacted me. I was shocked that we, and I say we as a town, haven't done anything since 2022 that I can find on the record. So I strongly suggest this town council, get something done on the record very quickly, help communicate with the property owner, DEP, and the residents on what they need to be aware of. I think if it's possible to post that property, if that's the thing, danger, beware, do not enter. Let's put some safety signs out there. Let's do a proper thing to help the residents know that there's a problem and it's getting resolved, but it's a process. And I understand that. It takes a long time to get a brownfield cleaned up, hazardous toxic waste cleaned up. I know that. So that's why I brought it forward, and I just want to disclose that, and hopefully we can come up with a good game plan.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
I appreciate Councilmember E. Curry's attention to the emergency response plan. I also wonder if she had the courtesy to contact the property owner prior to placing this on the agenda.
It wasn't my obligation to do that.
Well, to my count, this is about the fourth time that things have landed on the town council agenda affecting people's property, their committees, and where they were not contacted. To me, that is a basic courtesy. We have, in my mind, landed somewhere in the middle of the 1950s in the McCarthy era in this little town. And
Point of order.
my hope is that that will be changed going forward.
Thank you. Nina?
Yeah, so I think this happened in 2022. So any action that should be taken at this point, I think going forward, we should create a hazardous mitigation plan, an emergency response plan, really to anything that's happening, a fire, a spill, anything that's happening. It'd be great to have sort of a chain of command understanding of what agencies should be involved with what incidents, and we can take that from the plan that we had voted in from Jefferson County last month. We can take parts of that to sort of make a guideline that could be distributed to our police, to our fire, to our residents as well, for how we handle sort of emergency responses. However, the DEP has not instructed that any signage needs to be put up per the documentation that they provided. Actions have already been taken to start the cleanup process. We're not aware as to where they are at in that, maybe that it has not been completed, but I don't believe the documentation outlined exactly what percentage the cleanup of the cleanup had been done. But as the DEP is the governing body that manages these kind of incidents, I think that we as the town would be overstepping if we are trying to enact additional policies on top of their policies. And things like that. If there are requests for signage or anything like that, I think the contact should be to the DEP to see if they think that that's necessary before we're taking an action.
Okay, thank you, Nina. And I think that basically, Nina, you're following up on what our counselor is advising us to do.
Correct, yeah.
I saw another hand, George.
Yes, I completely agree with Nina. And also I'd like to say that I don't think councilmen contacting participants in any litigation or any misfortune like this is appropriate. We're not here, our concern isn't who struck John. Our concern is proper notification. That's our business, you know, and we ought to stick to our business and make sure that it isn't a 2-year gap by the time we have some kind of public meeting about this.
Thank you, George. Nina, sorry, Roberta.
Yes, and I agree with Nina and George. That's exactly where I was going with this is what is the town's obligation, since this is almost a year and a half old. The property owner has apparently done the proper steps and done what they needed to do, but the town has not. And so that's really where I'm going with it. And I appreciate Ken Sayer bringing us up to date and giving us a breadth of information that we needed to hear. And I approached it as, I think the town failed to notify its residents from the date of the spill. Apparently the property owner did notify the town the day after the spill, but there's no notification from that point to present that this town and this administration and the past administration communicated the danger and the compromise of the public safety and welfare of its citizens and businesses and community. So that's where I did not feel obligated to contact the property owner because I could see that they've already taken the necessary steps they need to do, but we as a town have not.
Okay, thank you. I believe our attorney has advised us that the West Virginia DEP, under its investigative authority, have findings, they have orders, and if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Sayer, this issue resides with West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection?
That's correct, Your Honor. I think that the city's role in this at this point in time is to work in conjunction with the DEP, sort of hand in glove, as opposed to attempting to take an independent action against either the property owner or of the individual that was is the responsible party. I think that the DEP is in the best position to deal with this and to protect the health and safety of the residents and of the town.
Thank you. Roberta, you've had a couple shots at the apple here, so I'm going to hold you. Zach?
Thank you. I just want to say that it sounds like, if I'm following this correctly, regardless of whose fault the initial spill was, there's been sort of a lapse in following up on the cleanup. And it sounds like DEP has asked for a cleanup plan that was never provided. And I think I would like the town to see the town take some sort of action that promotes that plan being created and then make sure that we stay in the loop. So I don't know. I understand that the DEP is sort of in charge of this, but I don't think it could hurt to throw our weight behind this as well and say, you know, we want to see a plan to remediate this issue within 60 days or something to that effect.
Okay. Mr. Sayer, would you comment on that, please?
I think that what we may be able to do or may be appropriate to do is we can reach out to the DEP and express our concern that we want to support their getting the cleanup plan and making sure and overseeing the cleanup. I think that would be appropriate to reach out to either Mr. Cannell or Mr. Bandy at the DEP to make sure that things are progressing.
I certainly can do that and would be willing to put a letter, if the council agrees, under my signature with council approval to do that. Storm?
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to suggest. I agree with Zach, and that a collaborative and constructive approach is usually the best, and that would be both with the DEP and with the property owner. It is a little disappointing they were not contacted, and I do feel some of the materials that were put out bordered on demonization. I do not think that's healthy.
Okay, thank you, Storm. Anything else?
Just like
Roberta?
to make a motion that the town council continues to keep this item on next month's agenda in order to bring us up to date. And I would agree that we reach out to the DEP and get a up-to-date status report.
Contemplating here for a minute. You got a two-part motion, right, Roberta?
No, sir. All in one part, I guess.
Yeah, but you got two action items there? Correct?
Two separate.
Am I correct, Roberta? You got you're requesting two action items?
Bifurcate the request, sir.
I don't know what bifurcate means.
Yeah,
I think
split
it's
it.
an important
Means split it.
word, but if you mean break them up, that's fine.
Yes, means bifurcate means to split. Okay, I can withdraw that motion and place these two motions into the record. I'd like to make a motion that town council reaches out to the Department of Environmental Protection of West Virginia to get an update status report of this bill.
I'll second it.
Who seconded that?
Me.
Nina?
And then I have an amendment to that. Could we specify the mayor versus town council? I just worried it's too open-ended, it did not get resolved.
I second
the
that.
amendment.
All right, we got a second on the amendment to have the letter endorsed by the mayor as opposed to the town council. Any discussion on the amendment to the mayor will be the signatory to the letter? All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Amendment carries 6-1. Main motion. Main motion is, I don't know, what is the main motion? Okay, the mayor will, whatever. Right?
Motion to have the mayor reach out to the DEP regarding, I'm not sure your exact verbiage was, I said regarding cleanup, but that was just my name.
I'll repeat it if you like.
Yeah, repeat it. Thank you.
Would like the mayor to reach out to the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection to receive an updated report regarding this bill in question.
Okay, thank you. All those, any discussion on the main? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, the second.
I'm leaving. You're borderline. You Storm.
Would you escort him out, please?
Okay, I'd like to continue with the second motion.
Sure, go ahead.
And
Thank you.
Let me see what I was gonna say, because
You wanted to keep it
let's
on
just-
the,
let's just.
We're
let's just
covered. We're
work
covered.
through it.
Okay, we're covered.
Let's just remain focused.
I got you covered.
Let's remain focused. Now I've lost my train of thought.
you wanted to keep it on the agenda for.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that the item 5D can be renumbered, but discussion and action regarding a
Okay,
2022 fuel spill on Henry Clay Street, private property, remain on next month's agenda for town council.
Yeah, see where the hell he's at. Drink.
Any
I don't want
comments
to
regarding that?
My preference would be to leave that up to when we get a response. And I'm assuming that it will be soon and that we can get a report.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Okay,
My
the
apologies.
motion is to move item 5D to next month again, so we can receive an update. So the same item to come up again to receive an update.
All right, what, did we get a second
I
on that?
got the second, and then Chris was saying that.
And I was just commenting that I would prefer to leave that up to the mayor to report back on what he does here, when he does here.
Where am I? On discussion?
We're still in discussion.
Okay, Roberta, you got discussion or? You
Yeah,
got-
I'm on discussion, sir. And so I would like it to be on an ongoing basis. So let's just go ahead and put it on next month's agenda. Whatever update there is, whether it's from the property owner, whether it's from the county, whether it's from wherever it's coming from, at least it's on the agenda to discuss. If it takes 60 days to get a response from DEP, then we'll just keep putting it on the agenda till we get it. But I think it's important for our public to hear on a monthly basis what's going on with that spill now that it's brought to light. Okay, so let's just
All right.
keep it on a monthly basis.
Okay,
keep
thank you.
going.
Any other discussion, Nina?
We could treat it similar to how we did the Cobra Life, which is we did an update in 30 days. There was no update, we can renew it for another 30 days.
Yeah.
We can just treat it like that.
All
Thank
right.
you, Nina.
Any other discussion? Storm, is it halfway up or?
No,
Okay,
No,
all
I'm good here. Thanks.
right.
but you'll vote.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 4-3.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir,
I have a brief emergency. I'd like to request a 2-minute recess. I'd like to
for
speak
personal for you,
No, for the town business, I'd like to speak with you and the police chief.
denied. We're going to continue with the meeting.
Look, I will request permission to go up and speak to the police chief now.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Okay, we are now at, Mr. Sayer, any concluding remarks and your take on the action that we just voted on?
What did you say, Your Honor?
Any concluding remarks and any take that you have on the action?
Your Honor, I think that reaching out to DEP and getting a status and is a good move for the town so that we have a little bit better feel for the actions that the DEP is taking and to make sure that they are proceeding forward to get this cleanup resolved. As far as having it on the agenda next month, hopefully we'll have that response from DEP and we'll have more to report to the town.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sayer. And thank you for taking time with us this evening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You all take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Item 6A, review and approval of financial reports for January 2023. Debbie?
Okay, so before the financials, I want to just bring up some important dates we have coming up. This is the time of year when we're doing our fiscal 25 budget. And we will need to have a council meeting towards the very end of March to approve that levy estimate and have it sent down to the state auditor's office. And then in April, on the 16th of April, that is when we lay the levy. So we will need to establish a quorum that day for that action to happen.
What was that date?
April 16, it's a Tuesday. Okay, so for our general fund financials, let's see, in both cases, we're ending January 2024. That's 58% of our budget year. On the January financials, our income is at $767,361, which represents almost 70% of our projected income under this revision, which is revision number 2. Our expenses represent about 63%. Both of those are a little bit high. Kind of resolve that when we get into revision number 3, which will come forward with your budget next month. And then in the water, again, ending January, 58%. Your overall revenue is at 56%, and your customer billings specifically are at 61.5%. So that is very good. And your expenses are at just under 59%. So pretty close to your 58% target. Any questions on any of those items?
Motion, Chris?
I move to approve the financial reports as presented.
Your second on the motion to approve. We have a second from Nina. Discussion on the motion to approve the financials as presented. All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hands. Opposed? And abstain. We have a 6-4, 6 FOR, and 1 abstaining. Okay, Debbie?
And then you have a handful of items for approval checks. They are here. Any questions on any of those?
Chris,
I move to approve the checks over threshold as presented.
discussion on the motion? The second on the motion. We have a second from Nate and now a discussion. Excuse me, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve? Opposed? The motion carry at 6-1.
Will they have to be signed tomorrow?
No, tomorrow's not. And I have,
Okay.
you'll probably be by March, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, police department, any question, the chief is unavailable right now, but Berlissa can handle any question you may have on his report, if any. She's a stand-in officer.
To get her a badge.
All right, give that lady a badge. And now she's going to be standing in for the ordinance compliance officer. Anything that you want me to bring to Kevin? If not, let me know. So OCO, budget and finance, Storm.
No separate report. It's pretty much been all water all the time.
Okay, thank you.
All
Is that-
water all the time?
All right.
What does that mean?
Water Department, general report from the PWA. You have that. If there's any questions or anything, let me know and I'll follow up with Steve. He's out of town now.
And the water chair is here.
Yeah, the water chair is here for the Water Commission report.
I do a report. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
You want me to read this?
Okay, go ahead. Denise.
Production statistics, because February bills were estimated calculations of unaccounted water are taken prior 2 months, January and February bills combined. Unaccounted for water as percent of treated 44%. There's a further breakdown. I'm just going to read percentages. Tank levels were at 75.6 to 93.2%, with mean daily at 83.2%, and the median at 83.4%. Harper's Ferry Water Works was judged with distinction at the 34th Annual Berkeley Springs International Water Tasting held on February 24th, 2024. In the municipal water category, Harper's Ferry Water Works was ranked 5th out of 21 entrants from across the United States, Canada, and with entries coming as far away as Australia. It was our first time entering this prestigious event, and we placed 1 point out of 4. The Water Commission members and plant staff attended a PFAS information sessions presented by the West Virginia Rivers Alliance and the Potomac Valley Audubon Society, the Upper Potomac River Keepers, and the Environmental Finance Center Network. Work is progressing with the lead surface line inventory due October 16, 2024. An EPA recommended cybersecurity audit of the plant operational technology, and an update of the Source Water Protection Plan, which expires in May. The department is supporting the Water Commission's public meeting scheduled for this Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, 7 p.m. at the Bolivar Community Center. That's an important meeting to remember, just because we'll be discussing kind of the rate increase and what that looks like. So once again, that's Wednesday, March 13th at 7 p.m. at the Bolivar Community Center.
Good job, Nina. Thank you.
Very well spoken, Mr.
Yes,
Ross.
very nice.
Yep. Well done. Mike?
I've got 3 items. First, I would like to personally thank Craig for being served on the Water Commission. I think that's
A great addition.
Second, I want to encourage the council to approve Elizabeth Reardon and Kevin Ostrowski as members of the Water Commission. With their approval, the Water Commission will be fully staffed for the first time in a year. In addition to that, it's been really encouraging to see members of the commission put their oars in the water to help. So all the burden doesn't fall just on me. The second item I have is a report on a Sunday, March 10th, 12 to 4 p.m. water walk on Elks Run that Chris, I, and Steve participated in. We started at we ended up at Jobs Corps Road almost down to where Elks Run crosses 230. And the central message from that is that the run is dry, even after all the rain. Now, I haven't been out there today, but as of Sunday, there was very little or virtually no water flowing from a little bit below Elks Job Corps Road to 230. And that raises questions about whether or not Elks Run is going to be a viable long-term water supply. There is a related issue. Down at Bakerton Road, the flow is good and it's strong. And the question is why? There are two issues here. One is, where does Elks Run go from dry to wet? And we got to figure that out. And how much is that flow? The second issue is that Elks Branch meets Elks Run about a mile up from Bakerton Road. And Steve and I walked it, and it looks like the bulk of the flow at Bakerton Road may be coming from Elks Branch rather than Elks Run. Now, we don't know that for sure. Steve and I have agreed that we're going to put flow meters above both of those to check that out. If it turns out that Elks Branch is the dominant source, there's a potential problem. Elks Branch runs along the railroad track for a long time in several places. And that's a potential problem. All right, the second item I would like to talk about is I would just like to remind you of the open meeting on Wednesday at 7 p.m. where we'll make a presentation to the community, and the presentation will focus on three issues. There'll be a background section on water rates. There will be a section that talks about why we need to increase the rates and what the impact will be on individuals' bill. And the third one will be why we need to replace our aging infrastructure, how we're going to pay for it, or at least a little bit of it right now, and where we will place the replacements. That will be followed by a two-part Q&A. The first part of the Q&A will be clarification questions only, and the second part of the Q&A will be any comment that a citizen wants to make. That's it.
Okay, Mike, I do want to say that no one in here got your joke at the beginning, except me, when you said, I'm glad the people are putting their R in the water.
Before you dismiss, may I?
Go ahead, Roberta, real quick.
I have some questions of the water.
Real quick.
Commission.
Go ahead.
Mike, excellent report, and I appreciate you and Chris and those guys doing that Elks Run walk. Questions are, do we historically, and I think we do because we were here in 1733, do we have historical riparian rights, water rights, into perpetuity for the water to flow to us? And is there anything that you can see development-wise upstream that maybe you've walked that's blocking it or piping into our supply, that's cutting down on our supply, and technically they can't do that because of riparian rights?
I'm not a lawyer, but I did look at West Virginia water law, and it says as long as you own land around the stream, you're entitled to a certain flow, and that upstream folks can't deprive you of that. But as I said, I'm not a lawyer, so that would have to be contested by a lawyer. Secondly, most of the water in Jefferson County comes from an aquifer, a karst aquifer. And I suspect that Elks Run, where it starts to run, is from a spring underneath. And it is pretty clear that development in Jefferson County, I looked at the data, in 1950, there were 20,000 people living in Jefferson County. And now it's over 50,000 people living in Jefferson County. And there is a guy, Than Hitt, who gave a presentation at the PPEPS meeting we were at. And he said, everybody is putting a straw into the aquifer. And the question is there enough rain to refill the aquifer, or are the straws drawing the aquifer dry? I think we probably need to reach out to the planning commission, of Jefferson County to see if we can get an update to a water assessment to see if we can figure out how much of our last year's drought was due to drought and how much of it was due to overdrawing the aquifer. And we just don't know the answer to that question.
Good report that we need. Thank you, Mike.
Sure, go right ahead, George. Or,
Oh, Chris had something.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna move on to number 3 when.
Yeah, go ahead, George, if you have a comment.
Mike.
Yeah.
I believe it was during one of Mayor Vaughn's earlier administrations. We had a fellow come from some water outfit and give us a whole lecture here in this room about the water. And he informed us at that time, and we're talking about 8 years ago or something like that, that Elks Run, he had a fancy term for it I'd never heard before, but it basically said the rain goes in, goes down, goes underground, and then pops back up. Do you remember that, Debbie?
No, but I know the theory.
That's,
that's
he
correct.
referred to that. And so this ain't nothing, excuse me, this is not something new. Yeah, okay. So, and I think it's not coming from the other elk, it's coming from this guy. He said it's coming from that spot. It's just the rain goes and goes underground and then travels along and pops back up. That's it. Thank
Thanks,
you.
George. Okay,
Kind of give you a pretty cheat sheet for nomination.
yeah. Patty, make sure I'm on track on this, okay? All right. Okay, so let's do the nomination of, let's do the first one, which would be.
Water?
We're on water, correct, Nina?
The first one is the nomination of Kevin Ostrowski to serve as the Jefferson County representative on Harper's Ferry Water Commission seat 1 with the term ending December 31st, 2027.
Okay. All right, so we have that nomination. Any other nominations for seat number 1?
No.
Hearing none, Nina, call roll on that.
Roberta McCurry.
Aye.
George Jones.
Aye.
Chris Craig.
Aye.
And Zach Morris.
Aye.
And Storm G. Stanza.
Aye.
And myself. Aye. And
Aye. Aye, thanks.
And
Second one,
and that one is approved. And our second nomination is for Elizabeth Reardon to serve on the Harpers Ferry Water Commission seat 2 with a term expiration date of December 31st, 2026.
any other nominations for seat number 2? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Roberta McCurry.
Aye.
George Jones.
Aye.
Chris Craig.
Aye.
Zachary Morris.
Aye.
Storm Stanza.
Aye.
Myself, yes, and
Yes, thank you.
Mayor Vaughn?
Sure.
I just wanted to, I guess, return the compliment to Mike. I'm just really so excited about how he has rallied a wonderful group of people together and has put so much of his own time into the Water Commission. So it's really refreshing and exciting to see him.
The card spelled the right way.
Well, although, Mike, I think you were incorrect when you said this is the first time in the year. I believe this is the first time in many years that this is fully filled. I know a long time. I think that the Water Commission went along with 3 and 4 members for many, many years. So, good job. Tree Commission, we've got anybody giving the Tree Committee report? Okay. We have an individual who has expressed a willingness to serve on a tree committee, and it's Debbie Thomas. Okay, let's see if there's any other nominations for the tree committee. Hearing none, would you call roll?
Let me just,
Sure.
nomination for Debbie Thomas to serve on the Harpers Ferry Tree Commission, seat 3 with a term ending December 31st, 2025.
Thanks, Nina. Now I'll correct the action. Are there any other nominations for seat number 3 on the tree commission? Hearing none, call roll.
Roberta McCurry.
Aye.
George Owens.
Aye.
Chris Craig.
Aye.
Zach Morris.
Aye.
Storm Stanza.
Aye.
And myself, yes, and Mayor Vaughn.
Yes.
That's approved.
Parks and Rec Commission, Patty, do you have anything? Thank you.
Good evening, council, and I'm sorry to make a mistake in this because we have some
exciting day to share with you. Some exciting days ahead. The installation of the play structure at the children's park is scheduled for the next week, March 18th. There is a slight possibility they may start at the end of this week, pending completion of another project in the area. So within 2 weeks, the structure should be up and running. It won't be available for play until we complete the mulching and the barrier around that, which we're getting bids on. So it'll come very quickly. So we are pleased to announce that the installation cost came in under budget, and we have saved $5,573.60. So we're doing good. So as I said, we are now sourcing the pricing for mulch and borders for the structure, and we are also in conversations with Leadership Jefferson to some additional improvements to the park, which we are hoping to complete by mid-April. Seats for the film festival are filling up fast. The event is taking place on Friday, March 22nd from 6 to 9 p.m. and on Saturday, March 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m. There are 4 films each night, ranging from 15 to 25 minutes apiece. The event is being held at the Mather Training Center. Tickets are $20 each night or $30 for both nights. You can purchase tickets through eventbrite.com, at the town hall, or at the venue. The Easter egg hunt is scheduled for Saturday, March 30th at 11 a.m. to light, rain, or shine at the gazebo on Washington Street. Parks and Rec will be hiding 300 candy-filled eggs for the children ages 1 to 12 to find. On Saturday, April 20th, we will celebrate Earth Day, and we are also planning on holding a rededication of the children's park on that date. And we'll have more details forthcoming. And then the last date to announce for a placeholder on your calendar is Saturday, June 8th for Music on the Ridge. We're hoping to hold the event on the lawn of Storer College again, like we did last year. We're in the process of sourcing our bands, and we are working with Welsh Sound for all of the events set up. And we would like to thank the mayor, the recorder, and the town council for all of your support on our projects.
Thank you, Patty. Any questions for Patty? Thanks, Patty. Landmarks, George, I believe you're going to take that.
In 60 seconds, yes. We had 7 applications to deal with. We approved the construction of a driveway at 828 Washington Street. We approved the design for a wonderful home on half of Pete Murphy's old lot. It's just, pardon me, but it's a delightful home and a delightful couple. We approved demolition on Washington Street of some outside buildings. Approved some solar panels on West Ridge Street. Someone has asked to have a driveway put in between 2 unimproved lots to access 2 unimproved lots behind that are landlocked. That matter belongs in planning and is referred to planning. And then lastly, Alina got approval to put up her redone fence design at 730 Fillmore Street.
Okay.
And that is all.
Thank you, George. Any questions for George? Zach, Planning Commission?
Sure. Yeah. I don't have a formal report, just that we've met a few times since the last town council meeting. George just mentioned that one driveway. We are looking at it, and Planning Commission is reviewing Article 17 of our ordinances to understand how we go about dealing with minor lot subdivisions. And we also met with our WVU consultant about the comprehensive plan and worked our way through the last couple of our focus areas. Our representative, Christy DeMuth, and her grad student Hannah will be visiting in May to present the first draft of our focus areas. And then there'll be some extra language around those, and we should be ready to have a first draft of a comprehensive plan by late May, early June.
Thank you, Zach. Any questions for Zach? Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there anyone with BZA want to give a report? We have discussion action regarding appointment. We have a request from Chad Gauthier to continue to serve as an alternate on the Board of Zoning Appeals. And Patty, his term would be
It is seat 2, with a term expiration date of January 1st, 2025.
Okay, any other nominations to fill seat 2 as an alternate on the BZA? Call roll, please. I'm sorry, Zach?
Just a quick clarification. What could you remind me what an alternate is?
An alternate is an alternate.
Good answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, we need a microphone for whoever's. Yes.
Okay. BZA can have up to 5 members and can have up to 3 alternates. The reason why they instituted alternates was in case there was not a quorum to hear a BZA issue, and or if there was a conflict of interest where somebody may have to recuse themselves. So therefore, an alternate can be called to sit in on that particular application. If an alternate is called in for an application, they would stay through the entire process of that application. So if it was more than one meeting or if it was continued, that alternate would take that project all the way through.
Well said.
Yeah, I think one other thing, Zach, since BZA is a semi-judicial body of municipalities in the state of West Virginia, I believe they function similar to, don't put the camera on me, that they function similar to a jury. When you have a jury of 12, you always have 3 or 4 alternates. And I'm not sure that that's the main reason, but I have always equated it to be exactly like that. So they serve because it's very close to a judicial body, the BZA.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, now we have, do we have one person for the alternate seat number 2, which is Chad?
Yeah.
And nobody else is in it, has expressed an interest. So go ahead and call roll.
Do we have discussion or no?
No.
Okay.
Roberta Meeks-Ray,
Aye.
George Owens,
Nay.
Chris Craig,
Aye.
Zach Morris,
Yes.
Brady Storm Sansa.
Aye. Do I get 2 votes because I have 2 first names?
If only. Nina Armstrong, yes. Mayor Vaughn?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 6-1. Okay, we're on a roll here. Tell you. ORC, Roberta?
Yes, I have the ORC report number 5 that I'd like entered into the record and attached to the meeting minutes for tonight's meeting minutes. And the only thing that you can read our progress. We are progressing on a lot of things, but I think our main concern that we want to bring to the town council's attention is we had a discussion and action on administrative policy 2024-002. And I've got that typo and wrong, so it should be administrative policy 2024-002. Break out the 02. But the ORC agreed that we should report to the town council that the ORC does not find that administrative policy number 2024-002 is appropriate for our committee. And we just like to make you aware.
Is that all?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for the other shoe to fall.
Waiting for feedback.
Okay. IOC, Nina?
So we sent out a RFP for to 10 different website companies and graphic designers for both the logo and the website, and received quite a few responses. We'll be meeting next week to go through those responses and be discussing after that then the budget options with budget and finance before hopefully in our next town council meeting being able to report back some progress on that front.
Okay. Questions for Nina?
I have a question. May I address the IOC chair? Yeah. Okay. So your logo, you said you received logo designs?
No, we receive resumes of companies so we can review those to see if they have logos that we think are appropriate for us to consider working with them.
So there's really you received qualifications from an interested, okay, great. So we haven't received artwork yet. Okay,
No,
perfect.
We felt it was inappropriate to ask for artwork before receiving, deciding who we wanted to work with.
Understand. And then the RFP for the website
Is, so the same thing, they went on the same day, Friday was the last day for people to submit their resumes regarding that, and it's examples of what other similar websites look like, a list of their qualifications and their team's qualifications, and we requested some budgetary ideas as well, and what features they would be able to work with us on. So it's just resumes.
Okay, nice. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business discussion action to select members of the old time Christmas committee. Who's got that? Patty's?
I don't think, well, I think
Who's the-
that, I put that on there because at your last meeting, the council, voted to create for 1 year. The council voted to create for 1 year an old time Christmas committee. However, we just did that. We didn't put anybody on it. So if you're going to create a committee, I think we need some members. So I think we need to figure out where we're going with this. And Zach, we might have some suggestions.
Zach, put your hand up.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to volunteer. I don't have any suggestions other than I can't remember if the motion that was made called out specific commissions or committees that we wanted membership from, or if it was just to create a committee. But again, as I mentioned last month, we will need as many people as are willing to volunteer. So
I believe it was 1 town council member, 1 member from Parks and Rec, 2 members from Merchants Association.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to include Bolivar, but no, because we're doing Harper's Ferry, Bolivar's doing their own thing.
Hopefully with coordination, right?
Well, yes, and that would be part of what this committee would do, is discuss, where do you want to go with it, and pick assignments and figure out what you're going to do.
Nina?
I'm gonna make a motion, move to request that the appropriate, committees, commissions, and associations, provide nominations for their proposed members for the Town Old Time Christmas Committee by our April meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion by Nina, when you said associated commissions, what are you referencing there?
Because I don't have in front of me what the makeup is of the old time. I think it's 1 member of Parks and Rec. I don't have the exact.
Oh, okay.
So Parks and Rec would
submit a nomination
And I believe Parks and Rec has already volunteered Mr. Morse.
Well, we'll get it in writing for April, but also because if Merchants Association needs to submit people as well, even a little bit open-ended so we can figure out.
Okay, cool. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Thank you.
And Dax is up, so 7-0. Discussion action regarding stormwater grant opportunities. Does this coincidentally go to Storm?
It does. My first name. So I'll make it pretty brief. It's just an update. So by invitation of the former Region 9 stormwater specialist who now works for the Chesapeake Bay Trust, in January I helped them vet applications for their watershed assistant grant program. And then on March 4th, most of the program's office from the Chesapeake Bay Trust came to Harper's Ferry for their semi-annual retreat. And Mayor Vaughn was able to help by welcoming them at the point. And we took a hike that included the Lower Town, Virginia's Island, all the way up to the historic campus, Harper's Cemetery, and most importantly, most of Fillmore and Washington Streets. And along the way, we discussed the many stormwater challenges that the town faces, potential solutions, and the role that Chesapeake Bay Trust and other organizations might play in helping us achieve those goals. And there were some really great practical suggestions based on the concept plan that was developed for stormwater. It was a team of experts across the spectrum for stormwater issues. And so this is going to send us in a good way back to the drawing board with their feedback to incorporate into our work as we pursue these grant funding opportunities, including with Chesapeake Bay Trust.
George.
Thank you, Storm. And when you go approach the drawing board with this, as you say, would you give the council members a notice so that we can take part and see what's going on and offer suggestions?
Absolutely. So
you.
currently, the current action is to start with Washington Street and a second project. At this point, I'm going to convene the Stormwater Task Force with this new information, and then we'll bring that forward to Town Council.
What I'm asking for, to clarify here, instead of being the second stage in that, I'd like you to make Town Council aware of when Task Force meets so that we can have input on the plan.
I see. I'm thinking about procedurally how that will work. Because we do have a task force that is assigned to do this. Typically, or how it has functioned has been that task force meets, it makes its recommendations, and then it brings them to Town Council. That said, I don't believe, I'm trying to think of the composition of that, if there would be a quorum. That's the big thing. If there's a quorum of Town Council members, it would have to be logged as a Town Council meeting.
Sure.
All right. George, feel free to meet with Storm and maybe work out something between the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay, George, you got the last item, discussion action regarding parking hourly meter rate increase.
Yes, I have a motion to make.
Sure, go ahead.
And I make a motion. Well, let me give a little background on this. We sat here this evening and passed a 30% water rate increase for the community here. This has been subject to a lot of work. A lot of people, myself included, wanted to find a way that we could direct some town funds, direct some other funds towards helping this out. And unfortunately, it's not legally possible. It's really a sad thing, but I can accept that. Nevertheless, I talked to residents about this whole process we've been going through. One of the things that comes up and said, well, if we can't devote the parking funds that we get, and we can't, to the water, by golly, the town does need funds. We have things we're doing. Storm here is working on stormwater grants, and I'm sure some of that's going to require matching payments with us. How is it that one fellow said, you're hitting us for 30% more, and the BMWs from Bethesda are not getting the same kindness showered upon them when they park here? And there's been inflation for them. You know, the parking rate might be subject to inflation too. So that's my backdrop. And that's why I said this transcends a recommendation for what is, and the recommendation of the people who are working our parking program. This is a public policy matter. And so I would like to motion that the town council authorize a parking hourly meter rate increase in Harpers Ferry of 30%, comma, with a 15% increase effective on April 1st, 2024, and a 15% increase effective on September 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
Discussion on the motion?
I'll bring up my second bean here in the hat. I've spoken with members of the parking committee.
We don't have any parking committee, George.
I've spoken with former members of the parking
committee. Thank you for clarifying that.
Who may be future also, okay? And one mentioned to me that an increase like this, unlike where you're shoveling out of your pocket, the public doesn't pay a whole lot of attention, the consuming public, and that it would slide through. And the other is yeah, that's the comment I got.
Other discussion?
Thank you.
I'd like to just make a comment that, and I'll repeat it what I said in the beginning of this meeting. I believe that we are doing a disservice to an advisory body, our parking committee, by us going into making such a decision as this. I think it needs to be referred and allow the parking committee to do their job. And then if they concur with George's assessment, then bring it before this body. I think this is much too premature for us to jump in on something like this. I also will mention that we have some of the highest parking rates around Harper's Ferry. So any other discussion? Storm.
Yeah, for certain, it is good to always be looking at our parking rates. I don't believe that there's really any direct linkage between the parking rates and rates of anything else in particular. I also feel that there's a role for budget and finance in this, in that looking at not just other rates, but potential impacts on residents, on businesses and the rest, and to jump into making a proposal that without going through any of the established town processes does not seem appropriate right now.
Okay, Roberta.
Yes, I'd like to amend George's motion to basically support the mayor's point of view. I'd like to amend this motion that this be the first order of business for the newly formed parking committee and for them to report back to town council.
There's a second on the amendment?
I second that.
Second from George. Discussion on the amendment?
Point
Chris?
of clarification, do you mean to assign them to these specific percentages and for them to study that?
Yes, sir. Back with her, George.
Okay. All those in favor of the amended motion? I'm sorry. Nina?
Do we need to vote on the amendment first? Are
Yes.
we doing a roll call for the amendment?
Okay.
Just 1 second. All right, Roberta Mead Curry.
Aye.
This for the amendment, perfect.
Aye.
George Owens,
Aye.
Chris Craig,
No.
Zach Morris,
Yes.
Storm DeCostanzo,
No,
myself, yes, Mayor Vaughn.
No.
All right, roll, it passes. All right, and then back to the main motion. Do we have any other amendments or comments?
George?
Roll call vote.
And so how is the main motion affected? Now we are basically saying the same thing of the amendment, correct?
Or now we're going to the main motion.
So
We are
I'd like
sending
to
it.
make an amendment first, another amendment,
Go ahead, Storm.
to add the phrase after going to budget and finance, that it going to the parking committee for it to go to budget and finance before it comes to town council.
I second that.
I didn't get that. Go to
So-
BNF first
Yeah,
before the,
before council. So it'll go to parking,
Parking,
then budget and finance
DNF.
will review that recommendation, then it goes to town.
okay, it's a wonderful thing. Is there a second on the amendment?
That
The
was,
amendment to the amendment,
that was,
and that was Nina. Any discussion
Amendment
on
to
the
the
amendment? Discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Do a roll call on the amendment to the amendment.
okay.
That's pretty good. at this.
Roberta Mead Curry.
Aye.
George Owens,
Aye.
Chris Craig,
Aye.
Zach Morris,
Yes.
Storm DeCostanzo,
Yes.
Nina Armstrong, yes, Mayor Vaughn?
Yes,
Okay, so now this is on the
main motion.
main
We're
motion
going back to the main motion.
Roll call, please.
and roll call for that.
And can you clarify what we're voting on?
Yes, so the main motion now says, for the first order of business for the newly formed parking committee to be to review an authorization of a parking hourly meter increase in Harper's Ferry of 30% with 15% increase on April 1st, 2024, and a 15% increase effective September 1st, 2024. And report back to Budget and Finance, who will then report their findings to Town Council.
Thank you. Roll call.
Roberta Mead-Curry.
Aye.
George Owens.
Aye.
Chris Craig.
Aye.
Zach Morris.
Yes.
Storm Duke-Sanders.
Yes.
Nina Armstrong, yes. Mayor Vaughn.
No.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Who seconded? George had made a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Chris seconded. All those in favor to adjourn. We are adjourned at 8:41 p.m.
And